Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody's having a great close to your week. Hope that the things that you hope to get done during the week were accomplished. If not, you know my saying. If you're still breathing, you are still in the fight. Look, before we get started, you know the routine. We have done work in the black community for 3 decades. We continue to do work. We are actually preparing through my organization, Odyssey Project, and my business, the Visionetics Institute, to do a symposium on epigenetics, generational trauma, long-term health outcomes, adverse childhood experiences, and the disconnect and trust between law enforcement. In conjunction with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the Wellspring Family Clinic and Institute, and Greenhouse Church here in Houston. That's going to be on next Saturday, the 27th. And we continue to do work. So again, if you like what you see or hear on here, click the like button, click the share button, subscribe. If you really and truly believe in the work we do, from our research to our program development, I ask you to look in the description box and donate, because the work we do is essential and it does cost. I am here to eat crow, which I have no problem doing. I told you guys when I first came online nearly 14 years ago to take on a serious position on the internet and in social media as it pertains to helping people improve their lives, and specifically the work I've done on the Black Voice channel and the Odyssey Project for the Black community. That I wasn't here for a popularity contest. I wasn't here to be quote unquote an influencer. I was here to deliver truth to power, to be a force. And I have always, for the sake of credibility, come back and recorded retractions and corrections when I discovered that something that I had stated or implied was not true. And I am not going to stop that. I have no problem in admitting that I can make a mistake, that I can be wrong, that sometimes I can move hastily because of my passion. Some time ago, I told you about Roda Osman. If you don't know who Roda Osman, just Google Brickgate or hashtag Brickgate. I told you about her here in Houston. She went viral because she accused an Uber driver of hitting her in the face with a brick because she would not give him her number. She was in the hospital recording a video. She recorded a video on site, and then later on in the hospital, she recorded a video showing how swollen her face was. It was obviously swollen. It wasn't doctored. It was swollen. And she ultimately went on to start a GoFundMe campaign to help her with her quote unquote healing, which took place after I made my video about it, and raised somewhere around $42,000, almost $43,000. Well, since then, she has been charged with theft by deception by Harris County, where I live, Harris County, for theft by deception, which is creating some type of fraudulent story for the sake of gaining money from people. She has been banned from GoFundMe. She didn't get to collect the money, from what I understand, because they shut down the account. What I can also tell you is that she did something similar in Minneapolis 2 years ago and raised about $4,000, and ultimately that turned out to be a fraudulent claim as well. She has gone online to rebut what is being said about her, but she has not yet, at least of my last checking, turned herself in to authorities here in Harris County. The charges she's facing are felony charges. And I want to go back to the original post. I did act hastily, but anybody who has followed me for any time knows there are several things that I'm immensely passionate about. Building strong men, holding men accountable, holding our women accountable to operating within the realm of their own femininity, the unity of the family, the socialization of black men, protecting our women at all costs. It's always been at the top of my list. I have championed for our women to the point to where I've often been called a simp by a lot of our black brothers who don't understand true manhood. You can care about a woman, you can champion the concern for women without being a simp. Nobody means you should be taken advantage of, mishandled, misused, mistreated, or any other way. But if we don't take on the role of being the shield for our communities, not just our women, but our communities, our elderly, our children, our women, we will never be respected as men, because the number one responsibility of manhood before provision is protection. So when I saw this and the way it was presented, again, it was a trigger point for me because the way she initially reported it live was that this Uber driver hit her in the face with a brick. Turns out he probably did hit her, but she hit him first, and he didn't hit her with a brick. He hit her with a full water bottle. But she initiated the contact, and then I did go online afterward, and I did find where she has these videos where she goes around slapping white men. Now, how planned and that is probably very planned. I just don't see a bunch of white men letting a black woman run around and slap them and nothing happen. But that's neither here or there. The reason that I was taken in is because there's a real problem, and I don't want the fraudulent behavior of one person to drown out the cries of thousands, because that is how things happen. That's why we have to be very careful. This is one of the reasons that I come back and I do retractions. This is one of the reasons I come back and I eat crow, is because credibility is important. The ability to be believed is important when you're trying to deliver truth, when you're trying to be the voice of the voiceless, when you're trying to engage a true issue. And it is imperative that we understand that. But I need you to understand that the second leading cause of death for black females between the ages of 15 and 44 is intimate partner homicide. That intimate partner violence continues to be an issue, and we cannot set that aside as being irrelevant or non-important because one person is exploiting a situation. Again, I apologize that I jumped it, but there are just certain things that will get me going, and mishandling and mistreating our boys, law enforcement mishandling our men, and probably at the top of the list is us not protecting our women or being the ones who harm our women. Is going to always be a problem with me. Sisters, when I say this, I do not say this without presenting to you a certain level of accountability. Don't put yourself in situations to be harmed. Don't think because you're a female that you can be aggressive with men, because not every man has the same mindset of viewing you in the same way that I would probably view you. Some men are trained to hit back, and they're programmed to hit back, instinctively to hit back. This is not about what's right or wrong. This is about simply not putting yourself in that type of situation. Also, there's a way that you handle and treat a man. A man deserves the same respect in the level that you deserve protection. And that thing has to be a mutual engagement, a mutual level of understanding. We've got to come back to a point of loving ourselves and loving one another. We are too easily drawn to a point of contention between us, And that division and disunity is the very thing that's creating so much disruption, and the inability to address the disruption, to address the oppression, to address the poverty, to address mass incarceration, to address miseducation, is because the very element and component that creates the foundation is disrupted. Without the family, which is anchored by the marriage, there can be no true inculcation of pure values, interests, and principles that serve us as a people, because it starts in the home. And if the home is disrupted, if the home is out of balance, that's going to be a problem. And there's no way around that. I have written about it. I have lectured on it. I have taught about it. I will revisit it on the 27th of this month. For those of you in Houston, please come by. This event is free. For those of you who are not, I'm pretty sure we are streaming live. So it'll probably be on the Black Voice live. If not, it definitely will be posted shortly thereafter. But here's the thing that I want you to understand. For every woman that is shady like that person, for every woman who is misleading, mishandling, and not holding her up, there are a bunch of women out there, a bunch of black women who are doing their best to hold things down. They're doing their best to be loving and engaging. They're doing their best to uphold us. I watch and I deal with consistently black women who speak life into black men, black women who big up black men, black women who go to the mat for black men. So stop buying in, my brothers, that every black woman is out to destroy you and every black woman doesn't want to lean into you, because that's not true. Simultaneously, sisters, stop buying into the idea and the notion and the message and the narrative that's being pushed to you that there are not black men out there who hold it down. There are literally studies by Kaiser at the CDC that show that black men are the most engaged in the home, black men are the most engaged with their children, and black men support their children per capita and per dollar earned at a higher level than any other race. And that includes all the races that they love to throw out there in front of us and say they're better fathers than us. The truth of the matter is the study, which has been repeated using the same scientific methods, has proven that with all those specific components and elements that they measure, black men are holding it down. But see, that's the 80-something% of us that never get shown. That's the 80+% of us that are out there that love nothing but black women. That's the 80+% of us that will go to the mat and die for the women we love and our families and our children and our community, and stand up for other black men when nobody else will. They're not going to put that out there. They're going to put the ones that are stealing, the ones that are killing, the ones that are cheating, it doesn't take, look, pastor's mistress shows up, goes viral. I get it. It's sensational. What about the men who are honoring their roles? And I'm not just talking about as pastors. I'm talking about as men, as husbands, as fathers. Anybody that follows me knows that there's nothing I think more honorable than being a husband. And what about the men who are doing it? What about the men who are living up to it that you will never get to see? They exist. They're out there. There are those who want nothing more than to be that. So stop buying into it. But what I want to get here in the midst of this retraction and this apology is that there are real problems out there. We're at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. We have 1.5 million black men missing in our communities. 1.3 of those men are incarcerated. That's one of the things that I will be dealing with in this upcoming symposium on the black community. There is a complete unraveling of the public education system, and our children are caught right in the middle of that. And we are now in a situation where we have an entire population that reads at or below an 8th grade level, and no one's looking to fix it. Companies are simply adopting to it. Major corporations who run ad campaigns now run those ad campaigns at an 11th grade level or lower. Simply acknowledging that the people that are coming from the current system aren't prepared to really truly read and comprehend and interpret what they're being presented. That's a problem, because reading is fundamental. Because if I can read, I can discover. If I can read, I can uncover. If I can read, I can challenge. If I can read, I can become. If I cannot read, I have to wait on someone who can give me what I'm asking or tell me what I think I need to know. And I have no way to challenge what they told me, because again, I cannot read. We have a problem. We need to correct this dissension between us, this disunity, this disconnect, because it is the very catalyst through which the disruption is erupting. And there will be people saying, we hear that all the time. We keep, and you hear this because if you don't fix this, all the other stuff that's out there to talk about is irrelevant. If you don't prepare the foundation, the house you build on it won't stand. You need to have the firm foundation. The foundation is the family. The foundation of the family is the marriage. And if we don't understand that, if we don't recapture that, if we buy into this idea that we don't need each other, if we buy into this idea that you're my problem, and you buy into the idea, ladies, that I'm your problem, we begin to contribute to this disruption, this unraveling of the fiber of our very existence and our capacity and ability to build something that can withstand the outside influences or the exogenous influences and forces that move against us. But we must first go internally and look within and say, what's wrong? Remember what I tell you all the time, that if there's no enemy on the inside, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. And yet we're not confronting the enemy on the inside. We're not looking at ways we can do better. We're not properly socializing young black boys. That's why I created Black Men Lead. We're not properly developing our young girls. That's why we still have ghettos, restoring ghettos, forgotten daughters. We have to build and grow and come together and get past our differences. I'm not dismissing anybody's reality. I'm not telling you you haven't been hurt. I've been hurt. But what I'm telling you is we cannot allow our personal pain to override our community responsibility to rise up and be who we need to be. We need to make better choices. We need to be more prepared. We need to develop and grow within ourselves, but we cannot give up. We cannot turn back. We cannot let go. We cannot accept what is happening in our community. We cannot accept that our baby girls are, for the first time in history, leading a statistical category in suicide. Our babies from 5 to 13 are now the number one, in the number one spot for suicide. We cannot ignore that our men are overwhelmed by the very idea that we are impossible of living up to our responsibilities, which is the number one cause of suicide in males, is the inadequacy, the idea or the perception of the feeling of inadequacy in performing one's responsibilities, meaning I can't be what I need to be to my family. We have a spike in suicides of 49% because we're losing young males between the ages of 14, 24, and also between the ages of 25 and 35 at an unbelievable rate, all things considered. And we are sitting by and we're pretending it's not happening. You have people crying out and saying, I don't know what to do. And there's no space for them to have a voice. There's no space for them to sit up and be heard and be felt, because real men don't cry. Real men don't ask for help. Real men don't need it. Real men figure it out. Real men get out there and make it happen. And all the time we're acting as independent entities, independent agents in this world when we're supposed to be connected and holding each other up and confiding in one another and supporting one another and speaking life into one another. But we're sitting back and we're having the life sucked out of us, each person in his own little space, because he won't speak up. One of the studies that I uncovered was a study that showed that one of the reasons that women outlive men, especially black women and black men, is because black men in general, don't tend to build the friendships in a way that women do. We have buddies. We kick it, we hang out, we hold each other down. But the intimacy of the relationship in which we are literally able to unload and share and have somebody say, you know what, I feel the same way. You know what? We keep that part to ourselves. We'll have our buddies, we'll hang out, we'll kick it. We might even have someone I can go to and say, look, I got this going on. They say, man, but the things that we really need to talk about, the feelings of inadequacy, the feeling like I'm not enough, the feelings that, you know what, I wish I can do more. The feelings that, hey, I couldn't do this. And it's eating us alive. It's literally eating us from the inside out. It's literally causing chronic stress that's destroying our immune system and eating up our organs. And we are literally dying at an earlier age than we should because we are not developing the type of community we need as men, as families, as joints. We need to learn how to love ourselves. We need to learn how to love one another. And then I'm going to segue back in this and then I'll be done. Unfortunately, we're going to have people like Roda Osman who are going to attempt to exploit the hearts of people who literally care. People who are going to exploit the gender war and play on the vitriol that is at its highest between black men and black women and exploit it. And it's being done in a number of different ways. And I've been constantly on the battlefield saying we cannot explode, we cannot implode, we cannot clash. We don't have the luxury of going at each other's throats. We need to find our center. And that's going to call for us to be balanced with both feminine and masculine energy. It's going to call for us to hold our houses intact with masculine and feminine energy, creating a synergy, which is the syncing of two energies to create a force greater than any individual energy or entity. We can do more as a unit than we could ever do as an individual, but they've got us convinced we don't need each other. They've got us convinced that we are the enemy. They've got us convinced that all the problems are coming from our gender counterpart, when the truth of the matter is there's a greater thing at play behind it, and we're simply the pawns of a greater game at play. We've got to learn how we're being played so that we can change the game ourselves. And this comes from reading, this comes from research, this comes from aggressively addressing the issues that we're facing and not backing down. This is one of the reasons why I have stayed on the battlefield. This is one of the reasons why I have been unrelentless. That's why I've been relentless in my commitment to being a voice, being a resource, being a source of discovery. Why? Because if we don't do that, we will continue to be misled, we will continue to be mishandled, and we will lose. It's that simple. So for Roda Osman, may she get everything she deserves. For my sisters and brothers, it's time for us to find ourselves. It's time for us to be better than we've ever been before. It's time to stop making excuses. It's time to stop blaming everyone else, and it's time to come together and say, not on my watch. I told you this a long time ago, and I'll end on this note, that for us to truly reach empowerment, for us to truly reach a level of liberation in which we can make our presence felt, that it would take men willing to plant seeds and cultivate those seeds, plant seeds that they wouldn't live long enough to see to come to fruition. And what I meant by that is we need to pour into this new generation, these babies, and we need to protect them. We need to fill them with life, the life of love of self, the life of self-awareness, the life of historical context, the life of capacity and probability and possibility. And we need to cultivate it in them until they're strong enough and old enough and it's anchored deep enough that no external force can remove it or challenge it or misrepresent, and it will stand the test of time. And the truth of the matter is, some of us may not live to see that moment, but we've got to be willing to be the planters of the seed. All this need for instant gratification is robbing us of power. And so my challenge is, it's time to start planning. On that note, I'm out of here, you guys. I want to thank you again, once again. I thank you for allowing me to post this retraction. But I will continue to be passionate of what I believe. I will continue to present that which I believe to be the truth. And any time that I discover what I have posted isn't proper or it's incorrect, I will come back and print a retraction. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your day. They said I should give it up, like that just ain't good enough. Hello everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in with a little special announcement for those who have followed me for any stretch of time. You know, outside of the businesses that I run, like Myriad Business Solutions, the Visionetics Institute, Odyssey Media Group, I also do a great deal of work inside of the inner city communities in Houston, Dallas, and other areas. I'm asking now, as we push a fundraiser, that you support what the Odyssey Project is doing in the inner cities, especially with programs like Black Men Lead, which is a rite of passage initiative, and Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters, which is a program focused on helping young girls, but boys as well, suffering from childhood sexual abuse, rape, molestation, domestic abuse, absentee fatherhood, and so many other things. The information will be in the box. Thank you. I'm free to be whoever I want to be.